Hi, welcome to the Lone Larch Podcast. My name is Jenny. This is a podcast / vlog, whatever it's supposed to be called, about knitting, spinning, life, the forest, trees. On Instagram, you can find me as Lone Larch Designs. On Etsy, you can find me as Lone Larch Designs. And on Ravelry, you can find me as jentastk. Jentastk. Welcome to this week's episode. This is episode 13. I don't know what I'm going to call it yet. Maybe Red Lodge Provincial Park, because that's where we are right now. It's about 20 minutes from my house. I was going to record in my front yard today, but it's an auction mart day. And we live down the street from the auction mart. And what that means is that they are auctioning off equipment, livestock, all sorts of things. So there's constant traffic going by. The street is lined with cars and people all day long, and it was just way too noisy for me to record in the front yard. And why I was going to record in the front yard is because I was going to introduce you to my larch tree, why I am called Lone Larch. Because I love my larch tree, and it has finally popped. Not finally, it's super early, but it has brought its needles out. And the cones are coming out, flowers, everything, it's gorgeous. However, it's too loud, it was too windy, Emmy kept sticking her head out the window, so I just left. I deserted and came to the forest instead. Is it beautiful? I hope you like it. It's kind of, it's very foresty. I'm looking at the dead wood right there going, I must deadwood the forest, but you don't need to deadwood the forest, but that's just what your brain does when you're an arborist. You want to tidy things up and, yeah, anyway. Focus. So, what am I going to talk about today? I'm going to talk about some tree stuff. I'm going to talk about some sock stuff. I'm going to talk about some yarn stuff, sweater stuff, nature-y stuff. There is moss right in front of me. It's really pretty. It's actually really dry though. That's the difference. Moss in Alberta and moss in BC is that it's really dry here. But it's pretty. Why am I showing you moss? I have no idea. It makes me happy, so I touch it and talk to it and stuff. Okay, let's talk about some knitting stuff. How about that? Scatterbrained. What was I going to talk about? I was going to say some stuff about... Oh, the knitting mafia. The knitting mafia is something that Lara and I started when she moved to Lethbridge, I think. She had a new knitting group down there, and we called it the Knitting Mafia. And I've started using that hashtag on Instagram, and it's kind of, well, Natalie really likes it. And I think we should start using it because we definitely have a knitting mafia. This community is awesome. And I know everyone says that it doesn't sound genuine because we say it all the time, but today, this is me being genuine. I have had an amazing week of talking to my knitting mafia, which is all the people that surround me, that chat with me, that support me, that all of you guys that are watching. My knitting mafia is very strong and it's very important to me. And I just wanted to say thank you to all of you for hanging out, for liking my photos, for talking to me on all the different platforms, for interacting with my group on Ravelry. By the way, I have a group on Ravelry. It's called the Lone Larch Podcast Ravelry group. So yeah, I wanted to say thank you to my knitting mafia, and feel free to use the hashtag when you're feeling loved or whatever. I don't know if this makes any sense to anyone, but this is an amazing community and it's a strong family, I think, and we need to continue to support each other and just be genuinely awesome and loving. So thanks everybody for being rad and continuing to support me, because I definitely feel all the love every single day. So, high fives. Okay, I'm done with that now. Why am I having such a hard time today? I think it's because I'm scatterbrained. There's a lot of stuff going on in my life right now. There's a lot of juggling and, okay, do this now, and then, okay, put that on hold and now do this. So, I will keep breathing in and out, and it'll all be fine, right? Those crows are very noisy. Oh, they're right there. Whatever. Okay, so let's do some stuff. we have a couple of questions from the Ravelry thread. In the Ravelry group, there is a thread called Ask Jenny Anything, and I've gone through and answered most of them. But there's two that I'm going to answer right now. The first one is, someone asked me how I have two mother-in-laws. This is very simple. My husband, Jared, has a biological mom, which is Kathy, and a stepmom, who is Nancy. So I have two mother-in-laws. However, if you've listened to the last couple podcasts, I was trying to figure out a different thing to call them because I don't like using the term mother-in-law. In my head, for some reason, it's not a pleasant thing. So I wanted to come up with a different name for it. And I was talking to my mom when I was down south about it, and she said, "Why don't you just call them moms? You can have 3 moms or 4 moms if you count Donnie." And I said, "You know what? That is great, because I love them. I love my in-laws just as much as I love my mom. So I have 4 moms. How rad is that?" I think that's pretty rad. So that is how I have 4 moms. Now I've completely confused everyone, I'm sure. But yeah. So that was one of the questions. The other question was from Natalie of Remembrances Pottery. This was a very hard question, and honestly, sitting here right now, I still have no idea how I'm going to answer it. So we'll see how this goes. She asked me if you could design any yarn without having the skills that you need to make yarn, like just if you could dream it up and make it happen, what would it look like and what would you use it for? I have no idea. What I think I would... Okay, can this be magical yarn? I hope it can be magical yarn, because what kept popping into my head is that I wanted a fingering weight yarn that is warm and soft, like merino, but that can make me gorgeous, amazing merino sweaters without having to take 4 years to knit a fingering weight sweater. And for color, it would be, I don't know what it would be, because I like so many different things. I think it would be just the color of nature, however you take that for the season. So if it was spring, it would be lighter colors, bright acidy greens, like when the leaves first come out. In the winter, it would be the sky, where it's like grays and blues and almost purples on those super, super cold days, where the sky is just sort of a weird color, like -30 cold days. And in the summer, I think it would be like rich purple of irises. There's some irises that I have in my back garden that are just like rich, rich, rich purple, and then they have white centers, which I love those irises so much. And then, for fall, burnt orange, all the burnt orange. So really, in all of that jabbering, I don't think I answered your question at all, Natalie, but that is what has come out of my head right now. So that is what I'm going to say and put out into the world and move on. Maybe? Let's move on. Okay, so judging how well that went, I'm a little bit terrified to do the next segment, which is for the love of trees. What I chose to talk about today is tree selection. Choosing the proper tree for the right space. And there's a little bit in this book that I'm going to read to you, and then I'll explain it a little bit. And the book that I'm reading from, if you're new, is the Arborist Certification Guide, which I need to read, which I am trying to read. So, matching tree and site. The first important part of tree selection is matching the tree with the site. Every tree species has certain cultural requirements, including light, water, soil conditions, growing space, and others. Each planting site has environmental characteristics such as temperature extremes and light levels that can limit which plants will thrive, clearly. In addition, most trees are planted to fulfill a particular function in the landscape. For example, trees may be planted to create shade for a backyard patio, So it is important to choose a tree species or cultivar that will fulfill the desired function and be capable of growing in the cultural and environmental conditions of the site. So this is something that I run into all the time. The main thing, well, not the main thing, but one of the main things is trees planted underneath power lines or beside power lines. Now, I understand that sometimes power lines are put in afterwards, but there is a spot right along the highway from my house where I think 2 or 3 years ago, someone specifically planted a whole row of spruce. We're talking like 20, 25 trees directly underneath a power line. We're talking about like a distribution line, not very tall, like maybe 30 feet in the air. Just like a single phase that runs down the highway kind of thing, right? I can't remember if it's a single phase or three phase. Doesn't matter. Anyway, the line is about 30 feet in the air. Now, planting spruce trees right underneath that is ridiculous because spruce trees will grow taller than 30 feet, right? 50, 60, 70, 80 feet tall, depending on how long the environmental conditions and if they thrive or not. So whoever did that is setting themselves up for fail and essentially has just wasted a bunch of money because in 20 years, they're going to have to top all those trees, which is a very, very bad practice. It's very detrimental to the structure of the tree and it will eventually kill it. So when you're planting trees, you need to be aware of what is in the surroundings of where you're thinking of planting it. Another example is, I was going to show you this in my front yard when I had my larch beside me. My larch is not beside me, so I'll try to explain it properly. When I planted my larch tree, I wanted it to be close to the house, but not touching the house, obviously, right? Because if you have a tree hitting your house, it's going to cause damage. But I wanted its fingers to be like 6 inches to a foot away when it was fully grown from the house. So what I did is I did some research. I looked up the mature spread of a larch tree to see how big that tree was going to be at its mature stage. And then I cut that spread in half, which was, I can't remember what it was. It was like, what was it? Okay, for simple sake, let's say that the spread is 10 meters wide. So half of that's where the trunk's going to be. So half of the tree is going to be 5 meters from the trunk. So what I did is I planted the tree 6 meters from my house. So the trunk is there. It's going to have 5 meters of growth, and then it's going to have an extra meter to either flourish and get absolutely massive or not quite touch the house. You give yourself that wiggle room. So, and the reason that you do that is so that you don't have to end up cutting off half the branches so that it doesn't beat up your house, right? So a little bit of forethought, looking around at the environment of where you're wanting to do the planting is going to save you money in the long run, because if you're planting this tree, that's investment, right? You're putting that money into the tree and you want it to grow and survive and thrive, right? So why would you plant something that you're just going to have to cut down in 10 or 15 years and replant again? That's a bit silly. So do your research. The other thing I was going to talk about is even shrubs. You need to, when you're planting shrubs or redoing a garden bed or something like that, you need to realize how big these plants are going to get when they're mature. When you first plant them, they might look a little bit silly. Like when I planted my larch, it looked like it was in the middle of the yard. It looked, and I mean not purposely in the middle of the yard, it looked like I just sort of walked around, stuck it in the ground and walked away. But now it's starting to fill in that garden bed that is there, and it's starting to get closer and closer to the house, and it's starting to just make sense now. It's starting to fill in that room and grow into itself, essentially. So when you're doing a garden bed, for sure. Right now, those plants are what, like a foot by foot? And you stick them a foot by foot. If you stick them a foot away from each other, they're eventually going to grow into each other, beat up on each other, and cause stress. And then you're going to have to take out every second shrub, or they're going to grow into each other, and it's just going to turn into a big overgrown mess. So that is the tricky thing with choosing the right plant for the right site, is when you first start, it might look completely ridiculous, that they're super far away from each other, that it's sparse, and that you didn't put in as much as you could, but you need to have the forethought of what those plants are going to look like in the future. And it will pay off, both money-wise and the looks of the tree. That's all I'm going to say about that. So, I hope that made sense, and I hope that was helpful. And it's as simple as doing a little bit of research. So, moving on. Should we talk about some knitting? Maybe? Just like Amy Beth always says, 20 minutes in and we haven't even started talking about the knitting. Let's talk about some knitting. What I am working on. What am I working on? The first thing I am working on that I have made quite a bit of progress on, tree rat, is my Seashore by Isabel Kramer. And what I was going to do is put it on and show you what it looked like, but I forgot. So what I did instead is I found a hanger. Here, let's stretch this out a little bit so you can see the body. Try not to lose any stitches. So I think I would cry at this point if I did that. There you go. Ooh, pretty good, right? So last time I showed this to you, I just barely taken the sleeves off, and this might not look like a lot of progress, but on a fingering weight sweater, this is a lot of progress. So I adore the way that it's striping. Sorry, the sun. There you go. The striping is awesome. It actually is striped, but because the yarn has the variegated bits that are very similar to the main color of it, it kind of looks like it's all the same yarn, or it does to me anyway. Maybe it's obvious to everyone else, but I really like the way it's turning out. And the little back detail, I have it being held just with a stitch marker stitch marker right now. But there's going to be a little button back there. So I love the way it's turning out. This is the Seashore by Isabel Kramer, one more time. It's written, I talked about this a couple times ago. It's written for a DK weight, I think. I thought it was written for fingering, but it's written for a DK weight, so I had to do a bunch of maths and sort it out, but my maths are accurate and it fits really, really well. So, pretty good, right? The tan is Cascade Heritage Solids in a numbered colorway. I think it's like 1056 or something. And then the color is by Caitlin French. And it doesn't have a colorway, but it is all naturally dyed with all natural, like plant material, essentially. All different plant material to make it the different color, which makes me love it even more. Pretty nice, right? I really, really love the way it's turning out. And it's really mindless because I'm just knitting around and then, oh, I gotta switch colors, which is good. So there's no thought involved in that, but it's taking forever. So, but I still love it. The other thing I'm working on is, oh, I did it out of order today. That's okay, it doesn't matter. The other thing I'm working on, these are the only two things I have on the needles right now. Isn't that great? I am kind of impressed with myself, but I want to cast on 1,000 other things, which is really hard to keep up my willpower to do so, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So this is the Moyu or the Squishy Shawl by Mina Phillips. Everyone has seen it. It is definitely growing. Showing you the wrong side first. The gray, which is Hedgehog Fibers Cinder. Is that right? Yes, Cinder. And then this is the right side. That is, the pink is Haven Yarns in All Is Bright. Her All Is Bright colorway. And I love the way it's turning out. It's becoming easier. As I work on it, it's definitely becoming easier. I actually screwed up a whole row. I was looking at the wrong one. I keep cutting my head off, sorry. I was looking at the wrong row and I did the completely wrong one. And I got to the end and I didn't have the right yarn on the right side. And I was like, oh no, what have I done? So I actually went all the way back on a row. Like I tinked back all the way to figure out what the heck I had done. and it worked. And I actually ripped it back properly, with no lifeline, which was stressful, but I gave myself a huge high five when I got to the end and it wasn't a mess. So very, very happy. Oh, I was going to show you the progress. This is, okay. Oh, I'm still sore from work on Monday and Tuesday. By the way, that broke me. No, I'm not going to talk about it because it was kind of painful. But that first marker is where I was last time I saw you. So I just had this tiny little triangle. And then clearly from here to here is where I've gotten to lately. That was just my reference on Sunday. But it's actually bigger than I thought it was. So it's not a beard. Well, it could be a beard. That's actually not bad. Little hipster beard, maybe? Or a little babushka, a little headscarf. Yes, let's do this. Okay, headscarf. Hipster with my little bangs poking out the front. There. Little headscarf. Ponytail? Maybe. Headscarf. Yeah, so that's that. I'm very happy with it. Mina, as I've told you before, your pattern is very clear, and I love that. I love the way it's written, because for doing brioche for the first time, I need all of those things set out very, very clear for me. Like, no, think about this, move your yarn to the other, or I mean, you move your work to the other side of the needle and then do it again. I need that amount of instruction at this point. So, Mina, I really appreciate your pattern. And I will continue with that. Isn't it pretty? Okay, I'll show you the red side one more time, or the pink side one more time. Isn't it pretty? Oh, it's so pretty. It's gorgeous, isn't it? It is very slow too. That is the thing that I'm having trouble with right now, is that both of my projects are moving, the progress is slow. So I'm kind of losing motivation on both of them. So, oh, squirrels, there they go. Ha, they're so cute running across. We'll talk about, oh yeah, and I was thinking, I don't know if this is gonna happen, but Natalie from Remembrance's Pottery is having a button along. The hashtag for it is RP Button Cal, and it's going on from now until May 31st, and all you have to do is make anything and put a button on it, essentially. What I was thinking of doing is putting a button on the end of this shawl so that I can attach it to itself so it stays on me, like I've talked about many times before, but I have no idea if I'm going to finish this by May 31st, and maybe that's the push I need to work on it more, but I think that's what I'm going to do so that I have that, yeah, so I have that push to work on it, but I don't know. I just love the way it's turning out, but it's so slow. So that's the end of that. Those are the only two things I'm working on right now. I have finished some more tiny socks, which I will show you. I can't remember if I showed you these two. I was working on this one, I think, when I left April's house. One tiny sock, two tiny socks, three tiny socks. Look at that one. You all recognize that yarn, I'm sure. And four tiny socks. This is the mini that Laris gave me at the shindig on Saturday? Yeah. I think it's a DK because it was very thick. Anyway, it's a silk blend that she gave a go, but didn't turn out, so we got some minis out of it, which is pretty great. So, what I did want to say about that is Shannon, hi Shannon, she is doing a blanket blitz cal, which is work on your blanket, your Cozy Memories blanket, or do minis, whatever you're using mini skeins for, essentially. Make as many minis as you can by May 31st, and I think her number was 40. But you don't have to stick to that number. You just have to make as many as you can handle, essentially. So no pressure. But I'm doing pretty good. For some reason I thought it started on April 18th, not April the 8th. So I actually have quite a few more socks that I can count that I've made by, like in that time period. So I might actually do it, which is pretty exciting. So Shannon is who I'm talking about. She's the Sock Setra podcast, and I thought that was a knitting needle I was gonna break. Stick. Yeah. She's go and look in her Ravelry group. There's a thread in there that it gives all the gives all the information about the cal, so you know what is actually involved in it, because I'm terrible at explaining things today apparently. So you should all just go to the Ravelry groups and read those instead of listening to me, because I don't make any sense today. Yeah. So, and I am running out of minis. Like, I'm making too many tiny socks. So I either need to make some more socks so that I have more minis, or just start turning all of my sock yarn into minis instead of making big socks out of them. I don't know what I'm gonna do. But yeah, my mini sock bag is with me a lot lately because it is just so much fun. And I have to show you one thing. I balled up the rest of my Mud Punch yarn. Look how gorgeous it is. Look how bright the yellow is. Oh, it's just so pretty. So I'm gonna make, I don't know how many more socks out of this, but I have lots left. So I'm gonna make a bunch of those crazy stripy ones. Look how pretty they are. So pretty. A perfect little gray strap across the top. Perfect. And I still haven't written up that pattern because I'm a busy human for my mini socks I'm speaking of. So it's on my list. I think I might do it tomorrow actually, because I have a bit of a free day tomorrow to get some work done at home. So when that's up, I will let you guys know and post and all of that. So that is that. Okay, so that's that. What I wanted to talk about, Candace from Pin Feathers and Pearls podcast and Laura from the Fawn Knits, they are doing a knit along starting May 1st. Yep, starting May 1st, ends July 30th, and the knit along is for any Cookie A pattern sock. And it's called, the hashtag is Cookie Jar Cal. And I'm gonna do it because I don't have any socks on the go right now, which is crazy. But I can't decide. Sound like a woodpecker, did you hear it? I can't decide what yarn to do, and because I just want them all. So these are all my options. I just have all these socks and I don't know what to cast on. I have all these socks. I have all these yarns and I don't know what to cast on. Look how gorgeous they are. And I'll tell you what they all are in a minute. Aren't they pretty? Oh, I can't decide what to do. So I looked through all the Cookie A patterns, and I think the one that I'm going to do is the elm sock because I have the pattern already in Book of Socks. The elm socks look like this. Let's see if I can get a good picture. Oh. Do you see those? I can't tell if it's focusing or not. Hopefully it is. So, I think it's a mock cable, and you just use increases and decreases, I think, to make all the twisty fissures. So I think that's what I'm gonna do, but I can't decide which yarn to use. You know what? Now that I look at all of this right in front of me, all my options, I think it might be this one. This one is Manos del Uruguay. Upside down, I know. Nope, that's not gonna work. It's this one that I got with Laura and Candace at the Loop. Is that where we were? Yeah, we got it at the Loop in Calgary. So that's what I'm gonna do, and the colorway is something I can't remember. Watercolors. No, that's not what it's called. A409. I think that's what I might use because it's kind of fitting right with the elm thing. But I don't know if I really want to do the elm because it's very similar to the Revelstoke socks. So if anybody wants to suggest a Cookie A pattern for me, because I can't make decisions in my life right now, that'd be really great. Somebody just make a decision for me, that'd be awesome. Yeah. But I still have like, all of these yarns are just haunting me. I wake up going, I want to cast on all the socks. I have Juliana's still. I have this hedgehog that I want to use so bad that's now covered in nature. That's okay. I have this one, the pheasant, that is just sitting and waiting. Like, and then my dad's socks. That's another story altogether. And then these are two that I picked up at the shindig. There was a fiber shindig in Calgary on the weekend. This lady, I just learned about her when I was there, Prairie Dye Studios. She lives in Lacombe, which is where I was 2 weeks ago. She lives in Lacombe. She has 2 little kids, and she's just a lovely lady. I chatted with her for quite a while at the shindig, and clearly I picked up one of her yarns. This one is the BFL base. Yeah, is it? Yeah, BFL base 80 and then 20 nylon, and the colorway is Ring of Fire, and I love it. She's on Etsy. I was gonna bring her, did I bring her card? I think I did. Oh, it's right in front of my face. There it is. So there's her info. Oh, these were for stitch markers. I was gonna take the price tag off. I guess everybody knows how much stitch markers cost, but for some reason I thought that was kind of cheesy to have the price tag on there. So she's got awesome colors. You should go check her out. She's got really nice stitch markers too, really simple. The ones with the ball bead on the bottom and then the loop on top, which are my favorite. So that's one of the things I picked up from the shindig. The other thing I may have picked up from the shindig is some of Laura's yarn, because Laura has amazing yarn and I want all of it. This one is in the Fox base. It's sport weight, 80% superwash, 20 nylon. I'm turning it into socks because, I don't know, it needs to be socks, and it doesn't feel like, to my fingers, it doesn't feel like sport weight. Like, I honestly thought it was fingering when I picked it up. Whatever, I'm just gonna split it in half and then do toe up socks and go until I run out. I wanted to show you like the colors inside, and then she's got all the speckles on top. Gorgeous, right? So I'm sure everybody knows who Laura is, but go and check out Laura's Etsy shop. She's Fawn in the Fox. Is that right? Yeah. She's Fawn in the Fox yarns on Etsy. No, it doesn't have yarns at the end, does it? It's just Fawn in the Fox. Anyway. And she's the Fawn Knits on Instagram. Everyone knows who that is. So those are the two. Emmy picked up a bunch of bits and bobs too while we were there. She got a little felted bird and little octopus guy and a necklace, a bird necklace, which she just loves so much. So new yarn things. And I just want to cast them all on. Now this is my dilemma. I can't decide what to take with me on this little adventure that we're going to be going on. Jared and I have to go. We don't have to. We are going to drive out to Vancouver Island with a trailer and Jared's truck, and we're going to pack up his mum, all of her belongings and her, and drive her back to Alberta. She found a house down the street from us. Not really down the street, a couple blocks away. But it's moving time. So I'm trying to decide what to bring with me on that trip. I am going to be driving a lot, but at the same time, I need knitting as well, because there are going to be times where I won't be driving. So, do I do the responsible thing and bring this, because it's totally mindless, and I just knit round and round and round forever, so that I actually make some progress on it? Do I bring this and risk screwing it up and having to go backwards on brioche in the truck? Might be a terrible idea, kind of. Okay, now that I say it out loud, that decision is made. Or do I just forget all of that and choose one of these amazing things to cast on? Right? The options. I have no idea what to do. So what do I do? What should I do? What should I do? Should I just pick a yarn and take some vanilla socks with me so that it's mindless and I don't have another thing to think about? Is it a bee or a wasp? No, just a fly. Never mind. So tell me what I should do. Make all of my decisions for me. Please. Thank you. Oh my god. I must sound like such a scatterbrain, but that's exactly how I feel lately, so maybe it's just accurate. Oh, and the cool thing is, this isn't local, but these two are. The grocery girls were just talking about this. There are so many local yarn dyers to me, well, and to everyone else really, but there are so many local yarn dyers that are just amazing. Like, are you kidding me? Jess from Haven Yarns, that's the red. She lives 2 hours away from me. Prairie Dye Studios, she lives an hour away from me. Laura, she lives a 10-minute walk from my house. Okay, Juliana's across the country, but that's a different thing. Like Yarn Inc. is an hour and a half away. Vivid Yarns is an hour away. All of these yarn dyers, and they're just amazing at it. And they're all literally within driving distance. Like I could just go for the day and go and grab some of their yarn, give them a high five, and yeah, just be so happy and so cool with that. So I am very, very grateful for how many people there are near me that I can support and enjoy their beautiful yarns. Yarn Beard. Is this a Yarn Beard? No, I guess this is a Yarn Beard. It's not very conducive. Laura, your labels are not conducive to yarn bearding. You should probably rethink that. Not at all. Oh god, maybe it's gonna be Laura's. Look how pretty it is. Okay, enough with the yarn beard. So, there's just so many beautiful things in my possession right now, which makes me very, very happy. But it's still under control. Like, you're essentially looking at my stash. Well, not really. I have a shelf at home that has some other stuff on it, but you're essentially looking at my stash. Like, everything in it I just love, and I cannot wait to cast them on. I love that. I love that so much. Okay, so the only thing I have to talk about is my shop. I had an update this morning, and there are still a few bags left in the shop. So if you're interested, there's a sock bag left, and then a couple medium wedges left. But because I am going away, I am going to be closing the shop on Saturday, which I don't know the date. What is that? The 23rd? Today's the 21st. Tomorrow's Friday. Yes, so the 23rd of April. I'll be closing it at noon. All orders that have been placed between now and then, I will be putting in the mail Saturday. They won't actually be picked up by Canada Post until Monday morning though, but they will be out into the world before I leave. And then I will be reopening in a week-ish. Whenever I get back into town and start sewing, I mean, you guys are gonna all see this on Instagram, I'm sure, but as soon as I'm back and in the groove, then the shop will reopen and continue on as normal. So that is that. If you are interested in looking in the shop, go take a look. I do have some new fabrics for next time. They include swallows and air balloons, and I do have more of the purple metallic deer. Do I? Yes, purple metallic deer. I have more of the camping season, which has been very popular. The camping season fabric I have more of, and there's a couple other that I know I have, but I can't remember which ones exactly they are, or if I can explain them well enough so you know what I'm talking about. So we'll just leave that for now. That's it. Thanks for hanging out with me in this lovely forest with the crows being noisy. And I'm sorry I keep cutting my head off, but it's just one of those days, right? I'm gonna go home and sit in the backyard and do some knitting and watch Emmy play in the pool and probably throw some balls with her and just relax. Because it's gonna be a busy week coming up. Lots of driving and life changes, which is very exciting. But kind of stressful at the same time to make them all happen smoothly. So that is that. I love you all so very much. I appreciate every single one of you. And I was gonna do the polka dot door thing. Every time I look at my needles, my sock needles, I think of Shannon and the polka dot door, so I have to do it. The polka dot door, the polka dot door. And it's not gonna work now because they're all wound up. And everybody's gonna think I'm nuts. It's not gonna do it, Shannon. Oh, here we go, hold on. No, it's not gonna do it. How on earth did you do that? Mine are all twisty. There. The polka dot door, the polka dot door. I'm crazy and clearly need to go home and relax or something. Do some yoga, chill out, and not be a crazy pants anymore. So, I love you all. Big kiss. Mwah. See you soon.